Okay, in the unit we're looking at the way language creates meaning, so how when you read you get the meaning that the author wants to convey, and how some authors can use really clever visual language techniques to convey vivid images into your mind. So it's kind of like getting a really clear picture into your mind, taking it as an author from my mind and saying, I want you guys to see what I'm seeing, and using words that put that exact picture into your mind. When you get the book, we will study 3 short stories in, specifically, and they are Aquifer, The Turning, and Commission. As you guys would know, the rubric in English is really essential, because when a unit is put together, especially for the HSC, people from the Board of Studies, or it's now called NESA, they all get together and they put together what we call the rubric. And the rubric is basically the summary or the synopsis of the unit and what the Board of Studies wants you guys to get out of studying that particular unit. It becomes really important for you guys because when they go to write exam questions, particularly the HSC, they go to that rubric to get ideas out. So, you can get a bit tricky, like with the discovery rubric, and go through it and think, well, they tested that last year, that aspect, and they've asked about that aspect. And you can find aspects that maybe haven't been questioned before and think, well, maybe that's sort of an area I need to put a little bit more attention to this year because they might focus on that. So as dry and as wordy as the rubrics usually are, it really does pay for you to read it a number of times so that you're familiar with the language, because then if you get an exam question, particularly in Year 12, it's going to be from the rubric. You can reflect that language, you can reflect those ideas back and hopefully get a really good mark. So let's read it. The module requires students to explore the uses of a particular aspect of language. So you see I've bolded that, so we're looking at the language. All right, okay. So basically what we're saying is that the language that the writer has used helps you to engage with the story and the people in the story and your own world as well. We're going to be really focusing in this unit on visual language, so language that makes you see the image that the author is trying to convey. This module requires study of a prescribed text, so that's the turning, through a key aspect of language, which is that visual language. This provides the basis for the study and use of this aspect of language in other texts, including texts drawn from the student's own experience. Students examine particular language structures and features used in the prescribed text, so short story, and in a range of situations that they encounter in their daily lives. They explore, examine and analyse how the conventions of textual forms, language modes and media shape meaning. Composition focuses on experimentation with variations of purpose, audience and form to achieve different effects. These compositions may be realised in a variety of forms and media. Okay, so what that is basically saying in a nutshell is we're going to be looking at how the use of visual language can, as I say, convey that picture from Tim Winton's mind into your mind with real clarity, a really vivid image. And you're going to then think about some of the texts that you love. Have you got a song that you just love? You love the lyrics of it because you can see the image that's being portrayed. Is there a short story or a film that just, that really conveys to you that idea of the Australian experience? And we're going to look at, how does that short story genre that Tim Winton uses and that narrative style and the particular, Aussie way of speaking, how does he put all these sort of language modes and features together to give you a really vivid idea of the Australian experience? At the end of this unit, we want you to demonstrate understanding of how relationships between the composer, the responder, text and context shape meaning. I'll take you further into those ideas as we go along, but basically what that's saying is when you read Tim Winton as the composer, you as a reader, you engage with the text, you get involved in that world that he's writing about. And that shapes meaning for you. Your background and where you come from affects how you interpret the book, and where Tim Winton comes from, it affects how he writes the book. And when you get that connection, you get a whole new meaning out of it. So each and every one of you will get a different meaning. Some of you might be from the coast and you'll get that real connection to his beach descriptions. Some of you may be from the outback and in his stories like Commission, you'll get that real sense of connection and understanding with what he's writing about. Okay, just a very quick word on the related text. As you know from the rubric, the module does require a related text. I always say when you're choosing a related text, choose something you love. Choose the song that has really, really affected you, that you've just absolutely loved, or choose a film that you've absolutely loved, because then you'll have a connection with it. It's not just academic ticking the boxes. You'll be able to talk about the characters and really have some interest. I've got some ideas for you with a related text, particularly for this unit. Don't pick War and Peace or some massive book because you're just making huge amounts of work for yourself. Probably a poem, or maybe a picture, or maybe a song lyric. That's probably the most appropriate at this stage. So there's a beautiful poem called The Surfer by Judith Wright that you can get if you Google it. The Man from Snowy River, which we will all know, but when you read that, that's beautifully visual. You know, you can see the guys chasing the horse up the mountain and bringing the horse in, and the horse sweating and all lathered up. You can see it. So that's a classic example of a visual text. A song called I'm Not Sorry by Banoffee, I think it is. Again, it's on YouTube. Very powerful lyrics and a very powerful film clip as well, very visual. The Sunbaker by Max Dupain, you probably will know it as soon as you see it. It's that classic Australian photo of the bare-shouldered sunbaker on the beach, just with his arms crossed and his head to the side, and it's a close-up of his shoulders. That's an iconic Australian image. As soon as you see that, you think of an Australian beach. Okay. All right, so just a little word on how to interpret texts. So we've got two key terms that we will be using as we go throughout this module. The first one is denotation and the other one is connotation. All right, so denotation, when I say what is the denotation of a word, I'm talking about the literal or the direct meaning of a word, okay, or an image, in contrast to the feelings or ideas that the word or image suggests. So, for example, the word house, that can be interpreted as, a structure in which we live in. A connotation, however, is a sort of associated social, cultural, historical, emotional meaning that is sometimes associated with the word. So when you hear a word or see an image, you get all these associated feelings and ideas with the word that aren't essentially, in the strict definition. So instead of house, if I say home, that kind of makes you think of your family and the things you love at home, maybe your pets, maybe happy Christmas memories or birthday memories that you've had in your home. So house, the denotation, structure in which a family lives or a person lives for protection. Home, a lot of connotation, happy memories, sad memories, feelings associated with it. So when you're interpreting a story, a book like Winton's book, think about, there are aspects that can have denotations, just strict literal meanings, but he also relies heavily on connotations, so that you as an Australian audience, when he describes something, you'll get it. You'll have those associated feelings.